Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. This is the show where we get under the hat of some of the most important topics in franchising in the UK and around the world. So, what is the Franchise Show all about? The Franchise Show, as you can well imagine, is about franchising. But you know what? If you're a franchisee, or if you're somebody who's thinking about investing in a franchise, or if you're a franchisor, or an entrepreneur, then this show hopefully will inspire a bit of thought and some questions. And what do we do each week? So each week we take a different topic and we have a lovely guest. And this week is no exception. We've got a lovely guest this week as well. So what topic do we have for you today? And it's the Franchise Awards. It's so important in our industry to celebrate our successes and understand what other people are doing and how they're doing it, and really enjoy those successes together. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce our wonderful guest and media partner, Jodie Marsh from Elite Franchise, and we've got your lovely logo up there, as you can see. So, Jodie, first of all, welcome to the Franchise Show. It's fantastic to have you here. Perhaps you'd like to do a little introduction to yourself and explain a little bit about what the EF100 is. Well, I put a few names up on the screen.
Okay, so thanks for having me, Harvey. My palms are getting super sweaty now. As you know, I've been super nervous about this all day. But yeah, glad to be here. And talk all things Elite Franchise EF100 Awards. The awards are obviously open to the franchising community, and they're the opportunity for franchise brands to tell the whole of the UK why they should be a top 100 franchise or voted as such. It's a massive opportunity to be recognised as one of the sector's brightest upcoming rising established franchisees. Basically a way of showing the franchise industry what you're made of, and boosting your credibility in front of potential franchisees or people who are looking at getting into franchising.
Fantastic. A lovely description. And this show is live. So if you are listening at 5:15 GMT or thereabouts for about 50 minutes, you can comment live. And look, there's some comments coming up here. So we are going to introduce our wonderful community to everyone. So we have the wonderful Omar, who hosts a fantastic show called Zoom Party. I have been on this show. It's great fun. And he's put, good morning, guys. Well, good morning to you, Omar. We've got Nick Plevan, another one of our lovely sponsors from eTalent. Great to have you here, Nick. Really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on all things Franchise Awards. We have the ever wise Simon Wise. Great to have you here, Simon. Always good to have you here, and really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on awards and what role they play in our industry. We've got Sanjay. I spoke to Sanjay today. Great to have you here, Sanjay. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Sanjay is into his funding and numbers and all those sorts of things. So great to have you here. We've got a QFP. We've got somebody qualified. At last, I've got somebody here in the audience. We've got Katrina here. It's great to have you here, Katrina. She's put, hello, franchise friends. Well, hello to you as well. We have Penny Hopkinson, another one of our wonderful sponsors. And look, you know what? I always do it, always did do it. And look, it's the right way round as well. That's Penny's wonderful book. Penny's put, hello, Harvey, Jodie, and all franchise friends. Looking forward to this topic. It's a good one. We've got a few more people to recognize, 3 or 4 more people to recognize before we get into this. We have the lovely Johnny Joseph. And Johnny's put, good morning, franchise fans, from a lovely LA, where Harvey said it must always be sunny. And it is. Well, look, you know what, Johnny? Today, it's sunny here too. So we can... Hottest day of the year here in the UK. As you can see, I'm going very casual in my summer shirt today. because it's very hot. But great to have you here and looking forward to hearing your thoughts as ever, of course. We've got Julie Waits, and Julie's put afternoon from a sunny northeast of England. The sun is shining everywhere today, it appears. We got a couple more people, and then we're going to get into a question or two. We've got Tim Morris. Always good to see you, Tim. Tim's put evening all. Always great to be here. Looking forward to the show today. Well, we're looking forward to it too. And we have the lovely Brittany, another one of our sponsors. And great to have you here, Brittany. And Brittany's put, hello, everyone. Good afternoon from the beautiful state of Michigan. So that's fantastic. Well, look, if it's okay with you, let's jump into a question and see what we make of this one. So this is a question from Simon. Simon's put, franchise awards, a great way to demonstrate validation from your franchise network that is vital if you are going to attract new talent into your business, both staff and franchisees, of course. Absolutely. You know, what do you make of that one, Jody? I really do think it's validation for what you do.
I mean, ultimately, any awards that you enter are going to validate your credibility to potential franchisees, or people looking at coming into your brand or looking at your brand. Anything that you've got that can, as Simon says, validate what you're saying is going to obviously help you stand out against your competition. So yeah, I totally agree with Simon.
Fantastic. Let's put up another few comments here. Nick has put, the sun is even shining in Scotland. Well, there you go. It does occasionally creep up north as well. So that's fantastic, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Jody, I wanted to start to get into this conversation by looking at a few of the new things that you're doing. I know that you've got some new awards. I mean, what sort of categories do you have, and what are the new categories that have come into play this year?
Well, I was really glad you've asked me that, Harvey, actually, because we've actually got 3 new awards this year. Alongside our, standard awards that we usually run at the awards evening. It might be better to explain how it works for those of them that don't know how the awards work. So, in December of this year, the top 100 will be announced. So that will be the list of top 100 franchises in the UK will be released in December. We then celebrate that in March in central London at an awards evening that Harvey did come to this year. And during that awards, we then have a number of different awards that we present on the evening. So there's 3 new awards this year that go alongside the existing ones. The first one is the Diversity and Inclusion Award, which is new this year, which is really, really important to us and the franchising community. So really, really glad that we've got that one on. The second one I want to call out is the Sustainability of the Year Award. And I'll come back to that one in a minute because there's something really exciting around the Sustainability of the Year Award. And then the final new award that we've got for the franchise community is the People's Choice Award. Now that will be, as it says on the tin, awarded by the people. So come December, once those the top 100 are announced, the People's Choice listings will be out on the Elite Franchise website, which will be open to anybody that subscribes to Elite Franchise to vote for their preferred brand. And obviously the winner will be announced during our ceremony in March, which is quite exciting. I'll come back to Sustainability of the Year Award because we've got some really, really good news around that. So this year, the Sustainability of the Year Award, the new award, is being sponsored by AdSmart from Sky. And AdSmart from Sky have kindly offered up a prize of £10,000 worth of TV advertising for the winner of the Sustainability of the Year Award. So have we got like clappy hands there? Can we clap for that?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so it's really exciting.
Look at that. Yeah, we have a little QR code that's come up. Sky AdSmart are also a media partner of ourselves. We all work very closely together. That's an incredible thing. and a really exciting thing for people to, to think about, that they could get this extra bonus up and beyond that validation they get for the awards. So the criteria, I imagine that there's a few people tuning in and watching, sort of, it's fantastic, all these new things that are happening, but let's take it back. The criteria for getting involved in these awards, if maybe you're thinking you have to be a great big sort of franchisor with hundreds of franchisees in your network. Is it open to all sorts of different franchisors and for this award?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's open to anybody, regardless of the size of the franchise. I mean, if anybody asks me, not on a live stream, I would just say, have you got any franchises in the UK? If so, then yeah, the EF 100, you can enter that. There are well, there's 8 criteria that you need to fill in as part of your application. So if you go onto our website and have a look at that criteria, if you've got something that you can talk about for each one of those sections, then by all means pop your applications in, because the key thing is whether you are, you've got 400 franchisees or you've got 4 franchisees, you've still got this really good story of what your brand's done over the past 12 months that you can talk about on that application. Ultimately, you've got to be in it to win it. So if you don't enter, how are you ever going to get into the top 100 would be the obvious answer. But the key thing that we do is we give feedback to anybody that enters. If you get in, what the position that you got, we'll give you feedback on that, and we'll also give you feedback if you don't get in. So even if you are quite new and you don't manage to make it in this time, we can give you feedback on what to work on for next year's awards, so you know what you're aiming towards to get there.
Fantastic. And when you mentioned there about the criteria, if people want to know a little bit more about that, we've got a QR code up on the screen now that does take you directly to the place you need to be. So do scan that. If you are watching this on your phone, by the way, screenshot this and you can scan the QR code at a later stage. I'd like to actually, at this point, I would like to say hello to some new registered attendees. We're going to do this. We've got a few people who have registered. We've got Michael from Pride Staff. We've got Rich from the Peach Cobbler Factory, and we've got Hussein from Freddy's Frozen Custard and Steak Burgers. So welcome to the Franchise Show. Please say hello, and it's fantastic to have you here. Let's have a little look, because we've got a couple of good questions come in. So let's pull those up. Let's have a look at a good question here. This is a great one. Sanjay has put, how has winning the Elite franchise top 100 impacted past winners? This is a really interesting question. To go through the process of applying and celebrate that win. What have past winners said that it's done for their business and for them, and for their enthusiasm and all those sorts of things?
It's a really, really good question, Sanjay. And I suppose my first reaction to that would be probably, let's speak to some of the top 100. So if you go on to our website, we have we have different recommendations and reviews on there from past winners about different things that they've done. But from obviously the conversations that I have with them, besides the accolade of being in the top 100, it gives them added exposure for the brand, across the community, and the credibility of being able to say that they are in the top 100. A lot of our brands, wear that badge with pride. So if you go to the franchise shows, or you look at different people's email signatures, they carry that badge with them wherever they go. So it is seen as something credible for them in the UK. And
Yeah,
also Canada. We haven't touched on that yet. We'll be launching Canada as well this year.
Of course, and we are definitely going to be talking about that. I mean, we had a great conversation with your colleague and friend Scott relatively recently, and we delved a bit deeper into that. But yes, absolutely. So we've got there on the QR code that things open up on the 1st of August. So that's when you can. Is that when you can start your process of applying, or is that when the things start getting judged? What is happening on the 1st?
So on the 1st of August, Harvey, the applications are open. So brands can start to submit their applications from the 1st of August. That is for both the UK and Canada. So we're expecting an influx of applications from Thursday. I'm going to go and hide in a corner, I think. But
Keep you busy.
yeah. Yeah, so we're getting them in, and then they close. We haven't got a definite close date yet, but it's looking to be around the end of September. That is when we close off applications. Then they are compiled and obviously sent over to the judges at that point.
Fantastic. And look at that, I've put up the Canada information as well there. So
As if you planned it, Harvey, as if you planned it.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
Obviously, just to add to that, obviously it closes like towards the end of September, but the earlier you can get those applications in, it's going to be in front of fresh eyes at the beginning of the application process. The longer you leave it, people have been looking at it more and more and more. So it's always early bird catches the worm, shall we say?
That's interesting and good advice, actually. I mean, it must be quite for the judges, it must be quite a task, and relatively tiring. And when they've looked at hundreds of applications, it can get, I suppose, lethargic. So, and it's also good to get these things early to give people plenty of time to look through it, because it's quite a process, isn't it? Looking, without getting into the details, it's quite a process to both the application process and, of course, the judging process. And I mean, I assume that's because obviously you want to be really thorough about that. But I guess that shouldn't put people off. But I imagine that some people might think, oh, it's such a process to go through. What would you say to people who thought, oh, maybe it's a bit too much for me to enter this at this time?
I mean, I suppose that'd be a question that would be better answered like one-to-one, I suppose, because I'd want to explore why they felt like they weren't ready for it.
Sure.
Because one brand's reasoning for not being ready for that is completely different to another. But ultimately, my email box is always open. My meetings inbox is always open. So if anybody wants to, catch up with me about that as to whether they feel that they're ready or not, I'm happy to do that. But what I would ultimately say is that everybody starts somewhere. So even some of the big brands out there, they started somewhere once when they only had 3 or 4 franchises in the UK. So don't feel like you're too small to enter, because it's not always the case.
Yeah, that's really good advice. We've got 3 or 4 questions come in here from Sanjay, Tim, and Simon. So let's pull up some of these and see what they are. Simon has put, how do you raise awareness of franchising with the awards? Are you able to reach out to academics, for example, and the wider business community? I mean, I know you've got a great and wide network of people that Elite are connected to, but how do you go about promoting, apart from being on amazing shows like this?
Obviously, Harvey. So there's lots and lots of things that we do aside from the stuff that we do within the franchising community. So Elite Franchise is obviously part of CEMG Media, which also hosts Elite Business. So we do a lot of sharing through that kind of that portal as well, where we're sharing with SMEs, the SME community, and things like that. When he says academics, I'm not really sure what you are asking me by that, Simon. So you might, if you can elaborate.
I think
that would
probably it's more sort of other experts and consultants, maybe, and people within the industry that perhaps have an expertise or a specialism in a particular area. Do you utilize those people to highlight the awards and to get that message out there?
Yeah, okay, brilliant. So the majority, well, all of our judges are key individuals within the franchising community, and each one of those judges will share obviously information and share posts about what's happening with the awards, the opening and things like that. We have partnerships alongside the one that we have with this incredible show. We have them with all the key portals, the key shows, the different exhibitions that go on, anything like that we have partnerships with that will share everything with regards to the EF 100, the results, and not forgetting, obviously, we are obviously a partner now with the BFA, and the BFA fully support our awards, and they will also share that information there. We try to obviously reach out to individuals that be interested in obviously franchise opportunities, which I think really benefits the individuals through our database as well. So I hope that answers
it certainly
question.
does. It answers it very well. It answers it very well. I think going back to the question that came up earlier about, what does being part of the top 100 do for companies and individuals? And I think it's a really interesting way of celebrating people. I mean, I've brought up SEO Samba, who are one of our lovely sponsors, because they do a list of the top 100 franchise influencers, as an example. And gosh, I remember a long time ago thinking that that's a good list for me to approach, to get to know people in the industry and to see who is doing interesting things in the industry. And to celebrate a group of individuals like this is a wonderful thing to do. I mean, I had the privilege of being at the event last time, wearing a tuxedo and of course the hat. But do you know what? When I was there, what came across to me was a real family feel, a sort of community celebrating together. It didn't feel like it was individual companies celebrating their own success. It felt like a celebration of the industry. Would you say that's correct? Is that how it normally comes across?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's I can't comment on previous awards evenings because I know it's shock horror. It was my first one that I attended this year.
Mine too, as well. So,
Pardon? Yours too. So yeah, so it was our first experience of the evening. But one thing that stood out to me massively was the sense of, like you say, familiarity, and the celebration of everybody coming together and bringing the franchise community together. I was absolutely gobsmacked that you've got brands that were all in the same industry, that were all there celebrating each other's success, and it just really feels like that everybody's really proud of everybody else, and it's such a great atmosphere. And the key thing as well, obviously, the stories that come out of that from the individuals that are going up and getting the awards. And we have the franchisee award for the outstanding franchisee award that was Sam Taker this year from Turtle Tots, and her story was just, I don't know how I didn't, I wasn't blubbering all over the stage when I was presenting the award up there. But it's just a real community spirit, and celebrating the success and the excellence of the franchising industry.
No, it's fantastic. I'll pick up on a couple of things that you said there. First of all, I want to pick up on stories, and I was there, and that story that was told was really powerful, and it was absolutely the highlight of the event for me to hear that story. It was very powerful, and I think a lot of these stories are powerful. And I have to mention our sister show, which is Franchising Brand Stories, because stories are powerful. We're going to be moving on to season 3 of that in the autumn, early September, and that's where we're getting to tell those stories, and stories are so powerful. And I think with these awards, you're telling some stories there, to people that are there. I thought that was perhaps one of the most powerful things that I'd seen of the evening. Do you think that? I mean, is that sort of part of the process to get people to tell their stories, or was that just something that sort of came out? Is that a regular thing?
Outstanding Franchisee of the Year award was the first time that had happened this year, and I think obviously the impact of the story that came out of the back of that from Sam was just inspirational. The key thing is it's motivating for other people to hear the stories and hear how what we've done has changed her life. And it's inspiring both myself and other people just to do more, because it's just getting the message out there about how how this can actually change your life and make things better for you. And I just think to celebrate everybody's success, whether that be a franchisor or a franchisee, is always something positive. And
yeah, no,
we love
I
the story.
agree. I agree. A really fantastic category to have, that particular award. And I think each year that's going to bring out some really strong stories. Do they have a franchise influencer award?
They had one last year, Harvey. You didn't
Oh
enter.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well done to Ed. Shout out to Ed Purnell. Let's have a look. We've got a few more questions come in, so let's see what people are saying. Tim Morris has put, even though you have said that the EF100 is open to all, would you still encourage brands who feel they may be a little weak in one or two of the entry criteria? This is a great question, Tim, and thank you for asking this, because I would imagine that there's also franchisors out there that think, oh, we've got to just sort out this problem and that problem before we enter, because we want to feel that we're perfect when we enter. Whereas if we've got some things wrong in the network or some challenges we're trying to deal with, is now the time? What would you say to that? And great question, Tim. Thank you.
No, I agree, Tim. It's a really, really good question, and absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Even if you think that you're weak in one or two of the criteria, you don't know, because you never know how you're going to stack up against all the other applicants that have come in. And obviously, the application process helps you to identify how you can improve your franchise model, because ultimately, like I said earlier on, if you don't make it in, we will give you feedback, and we will give feedback to your brands that you work with, to help them improve for the following year.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's similar. You mentioned the BFA recently. And the application process to join the BFA is going to highlight areas that perhaps you need to do a little bit of work on. And there's an expression to fail forwards, isn't there? And it's not, failure is not a negative thing. And if you apply to be on the awards and you don't make it for whatever reason, the fact that you give such strong feedback that helps people identify areas of their business that could just do with a little tweak and a little bit of improving, then it's such a fantastic part of the process. So no, I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, it gives you the chance as a franchisor to really go into the details and areas of your specific franchise business, and identify potentially, how you could improve that yourselves. And because when you're doing that deep dive into the application and looking at the parts of your business on the key areas that are part of the criteria, then you're looking at yourself and doing a self-analysis as well. So it's yeah.
Absolutely. If you have just joined us today, this is the Franchise Show, and we are discussing the Franchise Awards by EF100, Elite Franchise. And it's a fascinating conversation, and it's a conversation that's all about celebrating our successes together as an industry. So if you are here, please comment, and we will get your comments up on the screen. We've got a question here from Sanjay, and I'm going to put it up because I think that this would be quite interesting without getting necessarily into the detail. I think you mentioned there were 8 criterias, but what are the core criteria used to judge the franchises, and are the plans to open up the awards to service providers to the industry who may not be franchises? Now that's interesting, because I think there's a new award about suppliers, isn't there? So we will take this in 2 parts,
Two
if that's
parts.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like as almost as though I've paid Sanjay earlier to lead me into the questions. Who
Thank you,
needs
Sanjay.
Harvey?
Exactly. I'm just here wearing
So
a
yeah,
hat.
there are eight criteria as part of the judging process. Obviously, without going into each of the eight criteria, there's obviously four main areas that we focus on, which are the contribution, support, innovation, and the future. So if you think about those four parts of your brand and which part, what you can talk about under each of those four criteria, you'll be able to fill in the other areas as you go along, and maybe you can score. Going back to Tim's earlier question, you might score in areas that others maybe can't under those four sections. Um, it may be that you're more innovative or using tech that older, more mature franchisors aren't using because you are quite new and developing.
Yeah, interesting. So the areas are contribute. What do you mean by contribution? Contribution to the industry, contribution to the network that you're in. I think it's really interesting because they're fairly wide open categories that you can hopefully fit what it is that you're doing in, or what it is you're good at, into one of those categories. But elaborate a little bit more on contribution and how someone could get their business working in that particular category.
I think it's everything that you've just said, Harvey. So, all of the above. So, contribution to your franchise network, contribution to, sustainability, all the different criteria of contribution to the community. We break it down into different areas, but it's just the four like key pillars to look for. So what are you doing that contributes to under that section? What are you doing to support the franchising, support the community, support systems, IT, charities, anything like that you're doing? You can fall under any one of those sections.
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the way it's been divided up into those sort of, what you said, pillars, and you can fit a lot of interesting things into each of those pillars. Let's have a look at the second part now of Sanjay's question, which is: are there any plans to open up the awards to service providers to the industry who may not be franchises? So there you go. That question is right for you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sanjay. Okay, so yeah, as we discussed earlier on, Harvey, we are, from feedback that we got from some of the suppliers that we already work with and sponsor the awards. They asked us for a Supplier of the Year award, because there isn't really anything that goes back to reward the suppliers, but what and the service providers. But what we were very keen on doing is the franchise awards are all about the franchisors, the franchisees, and the franchise brands. So we wanted to make sure that we did it in a way that still supported the franchisees and the franchisors and the brands out there. So what we're doing for the first time this year is we are having a franchisor supplier of the year award. So it'll work a little bit like the People's Choice Award. So the suppliers will can apply for this to be shortlisted for the award. What they write into that application is then going to be published on our site. The exact dates to be confirmed at the moment, because it's just something that we've only agreed a few weeks ago. But I probably look at around December time when we release the list of the top 100. Those supplier nominations will be available online and open to any of the franchisors to vote for the supplier of the year that they want to have that ranking.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's great. So it's a the franchise show exclusive, is it? We're first to hear about this. Yeah, I like to think.
Yeah,
Just say
kind
yes.
of.
Just say
Let's
yes.
just say the service provider whose idea it was got told first.
Oh, I guess
So,
that's fair.
but yeah, so it is an exclusive. Yeah.
Excellent. No, that's fantastic. No, that's great. And thank you so much for that question, Sanjay. A really good question, thought-provoking in both parts of that. Please, if you've got any more questions, let us know. And I'm going to ask you for a little bit of a favor right now, if this is all right. If you are here, can you please give this one a little scan? So as another way to support this show, if you do like what I do, I'm getting some little badges made with little hats on. And if you scan this, you can sign up and get a little badge with a hat on. So if you'd like to become what we call a franchise show patron, which means that you're showing your support for what we do here for the industry, please could you either scan the QR code or take a little screenshot and scan it at your leisure. And it will take you to where you need to go. I would like, if possible now, you mentioned earlier about a very exciting thing. Apart from the accolade of being involved in the process and winning or celebrating things with people in the industry, you mentioned about this sustainability award from Sky, from Sky AdSmart. Explain a little bit more about what that is and how people get involved in that and what that prize is. While you do that, I'll put up their lovely QR code.
Okay, so as we discussed earlier, so once the EF 100 ranking is released in December, anybody that's in that top 100 will submit as part of their application the ways that they're obviously supporting sustainability, or they're achieving, or they are aiming towards to being sustainable in the future. I mean, it's not always about being, where you want to be now, but have you got the plans in place? And if you've got the plans in place, where, what does that look like? Because we're not expecting everybody to be amazing overnight. It's a work in progress. So when they're submitting their applications, the sustainability will be judged as part of that. Come December, once we release the 100, there will be then a shortlist of the awards. For people that are nominated or will be considered for that award. And then, fortunately, they are going to have to wait from when they are shortlisted all the way up until March before they find out whether they are the winner of that award. But what an award to get!
So
Sky.
£10,000 worth of advertising with Sky, is that right?
Yes, with Sky AdSmart, yeah.
Oh, look at that! You could be famous with young Kurt from Sky, who we all know very well. So that's fantastic. I'd just like to recognise the fact that we've got somebody else that's joined us here, and that is the lovely Don Cohen. And Don has taught me everything I know about LinkedIn Live. So if you like what I do, please check out Don's show, which is before this show at 4 o'clock UK time. And it's a fantastic show, and he does an amazing job. And if you want to do a LinkedIn Live, please connect with Don. So let's have a look. We've got another question here coming by Simon. Simon has put, the mark of successful franchising is always franchisee economics, happy, successful franchisees. How are these measured with the criteria for the awards? I love this question, Simon, because there's something that's rapidly becoming my mantra after the great John Hewitt, franchisor of 54 years, said that the secret to a good franchise company is happy, successful franchisees. And it's simple to say, a challenge sometimes, I guess, to achieve, but how do you measure those things within the awards? How do you measure the happiness of a network? It's not easy, is it? But I suppose within those pillars you can.
Yeah, I suppose it's a really good question, Simon. I suppose that would fall under the support section of that. Because during that support section, the franchise brands, when they're putting in their application, can talk about what they're doing to support the franchisees, how they're helping make their lives easier, or helping them to develop, or what they're doing in terms of coaching. But ultimately, really show what they're doing for their network. The other thing you can do as part of your additional information is talk about if you've had any, like, workbus surveys or anything like that have gone out to your network. You can talk about that as part of your application. if the different franchise brands have done that, then there's always sections for them to put that kind of information in there as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, to judge the happiness of your consumer network, there are various sites where people can really leave reviews, of which you can check. But it's not as easy with a franchisee network, is it? But it's great to hear that you've got some systems in place, and I guess you just also people talk to each other as well and find these things out. But no, great question, Simon. I mean, what sort of things are coming up in the future for the awards? Are there some some changes ahead? Are the things happening slightly differently? I mean, I suppose we spoke about a few new awards, and we've got Canada, of course. Things are going on in Canada, and you're growing these awards abroad as well, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. And the initial feedback from Canada is it's going to be, hopefully, fingers crossed, a really positive launch. It's going down really, really well over there. I mean, obviously, I can't really comment on Canada because that's
No,
Scott's baby.
sure.
But for the feedback that I hear, and how busy we all are here, it's going to be one heck of a year for the EF 100, I think.
Mm.
So
Absolutely. No, I mean, some exciting things coming up for sure. Just to sort of recap, going through sort of some of the key dates that are happening. So things open for potential franchisors or now suppliers to put in their applications on the 1st of August. That's going to be open for a couple of months, you've said. Then the judges are going to do their hard work and find out where everyone is going to sit in that list, and when do people only get to hear where they are on the evening? Is that how it works, or do they get a sneak peek beforehand?
okay, so the key dates, really, I suppose, is what the first part of your question was. So the awards open on the 1st of August. That's for both UK and Canada. They will close on the same date, which is going to be the 30th of September. For both, well, I'm saying for Canada, but I'm assuming it's for Canada as well, the 30th end of September for EF UK. Then they go off to the judges for consideration. So that's when they have the focus on the awards that they've got, and that's their job to assess those awards. We then release the list of the top 100 franchisees the beginning of December. So the top 100 list is released along with the guide, which is here. That's published at the beginning of December as well. And then the short list for the awards that are given out separately on the evening are released shortly after that. And then the awards evening itself will take place on the 13th of March 2025.
Fantastic. And it was an amazing thing to go to last year, so I look forward to celebrating that next year.
And I believe, Harvey, we have the same venue
Oh, okay,
for next
excellent.
year that we had this year because of the feedback that we got from everybody with regards to the actual venue that we had last year. So I think we are using the same venue.
It was great. It was a great venue. It was very good, and perfectly positioned. Well, if you're in London, but I do need to remember this year that tubes shut at 1 a.m. I have to remember that. Okay. I
It's all
didn't
right,
remember.
Harvey. We got the buzz in the ball gown on the double deckers. It was quite funny.
That's fair enough then. Excellent. I mean, I suppose we've touched on this briefly, and we are starting to get towards the end now. But in last year, that standout moment, was it for you, Turtle Tots, and the story that was said? And I suppose going back beyond when you've been involved, you must have heard of some stories and some life-changing things that have happened over the time. Are there any characters that stand out in your mind I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm going to mention one who I met at one of the after show parties you organised, and that was Sanjay, who's the fruit and
Oh
veg
dear.
man. Now, he's a standout character if you ever meet him.
Broccoli. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, someone's going to have to ask us about that another time, I think. But
Yes. Not one for tonight, no.
yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. You know, the franchise community is filled with, you know, a world of you know, of different characters, all of which are unique in their own way. I mean, I
Mm,
suppose for me, with it being my first awards evening that I've been to, after joining Elite Franchise, was just the sheer, like I've said to you earlier on today, just the sheer happiness and the you know the atmosphere that was there, because everybody was just in celebration and in awe of one another, and it was just really great for you know, to see all that come together. um the funny one, I think the funny one, I think we're going to stand out would have to be Sarah. Is it Sarah Cressel? I mean, she won Community Builder of the Year award, I think it was. But wasn't it Sarah who hadn't told her children that it was black tie, and they turned up in
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure it was Sarah. Yeah, remember? So that was probably
yeah.
the funny part for me. That sticks in my mind. And then I think for me, it was just the one thing that really pulled on my heartstrings, aside from Sam, was the um, the sheer like volume of emotion when Scott was saying goodbye.
Mm,
I mean, I think for me, just to see how much of an impact you know, he had, and you know, the boots that I'd got to fill this year was, you know, quite humbling for me, I think, and just nice to really see how everybody, you know, loves one another and gets on and works, and
mm.
you know, everybody just wants everybody to succeed, and it's just such a nice place to work. Oh no, it says work, nice
Yeah,
place to be,
absolutely.
should we say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, and here's Scott's comment, which is up on the screen right now, and you could see the passion that Scott had and still has for this wonderful event. And you know, it really came across to me when I saw him, and it was fantastic. And Scott's put, thanks, Harvey. Canada is an amazing community to work in. So excited to be open in a few days. Well, it's going to be an absolutely exciting time for everyone at Elite. Before we get into saying some goodbyes and finding out who's on next week, etc., do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with regarding the awards and the event in general?
um I suppose we've already covered pretty much everything that I would want to talk about tonight. But the key things that you know, I'd like to get the message across is that my inbox is always open. If anybody wants to talk about anything to do with the awards, you know, feel free to give me a shout. Um, Secondly, you know, we've touched on it quite a few times tonight, but don't ever think that you're too small or you're not ready, or you know, you're not quite there, because you'd be surprised, you know, how well you could potentially do with regards to the placements on there, because you just never know. And I'd probably then, you know, my parting shot on that would be, you've got to be in it to win it. I'm going to keep that's going to be my mantra from now on, I think. You know, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that. You've got to be in it to win it. And I'm going to remember that for next year as well. I'm going to end with Simon's comment. Simon's put, well done, Elite. It's great to see you putting so much into the franchise industry. Whether you make the top 100 or not, it certainly puts franchising on the map, which will benefit everyone in this fantastic industry. To your success. Exactly. Cheers. In fact, here's a cheers. Mm.
I've got a
There we
water
go.
bottle. Cheers, man.
Well, there we go. That's fantastic. Well, look, we have now come to the end of the show. So next Tuesday on the Franchise Show, we have the lovely Brittany Satterfield, who is one of our lovely sponsors. And we're going to be talking about franchise stories in the sense of marketing, but we're going to be looking at how you tell a franchise story and what impact telling that story in the right way has for the people around you. So it's going to be a fantastic episode. Looking forward as ever to hear your thoughts on that. So please join us. That will be 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST next Tuesday. And we are going to be beginning Franchising Brand Stories again in September. Look out for some exciting announcements. We've got some fantastic guests lined up for season 3. So looking forward to beginning that in September, as ever on a Thursday, 5:15 GMT. So there we go. Until next week, my lovely friends, have a fantastic week ahead and take good care. Cheerio.